The salvage drones detected her ship first, a massive dreadnought of unknown design cutting through the asteroid field like a predator through still water. Commander Zex-9 of the Hegemony Monitoring Station squinted at the readings, his chitinous fingers clicking nervously against the console. The vessel's energy signature was off the charts, and more concerning, it was heading directly for Kepler 442b, the dead human colony world that had been stripped bare 15 years ago. "Sir," his communications officer buzzed, mandibles twitching with anxiety. "We're receiving a transmission. It's in the old human tongue." "Put it through," Zex-9 commanded, though every instinct screamed at him to flee. The humans had been broken, scattered to the winds after their spectacular defeat. This had to be some kind of ghost signal, a glitch in their systems. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a woman who couldn't have been more than 30 Earth years old. Her skin was pale as starlight, her hair black as the void, and her eyes burned with the cold fury of dying stars. She wore robes that seemed to shift between reality and shadow, and behind her, barely visible in the transmission's background, sat an ornate throne carved from what appeared to be crystallized dark matter. "I am Lydia Chen," she said, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Formerly known as Princess Lydia of the Kepler Commonwealth. I have returned to reclaim what was stolen from my people." Zex-9's blood ran cold. He remembered the stories, the legends whispered in the darker corners of hegemony space. Lydia Chen, the last heir of the human royal line, had vanished during the final battle of Kepler 442b. Most assumed she had died with the rest of her family when the orbital bombardment began. But if the legends were true, she had escaped, a mere child fleeing into the black between stars. "The Kepler system belongs to the hegemony now," Zex-9 managed to croak. "By right of conquest and galactic law." "Galactic law?" Lydia's laugh was like breaking glass. "The same law that allowed you to murder 3 billion of my subjects? That permitted you to strip mine their graves for rare metals?" She leaned forward, and Zex-9 could see the throne behind her more clearly now. It wasn't carved. It was grown, made from some impossible merger of technology and living tissue that hurt to look at directly. "You want to know where I've been for 15 years, Commander Zex-9 of Monitoring Station Helix 7? Her smile was sharp enough to cut atmosphere. "I've been learning, trading, building." The dreadnought's hangar bays suddenly blazed with light as thousands of smaller craft poured out like angry wasps. But these weren't standard human fighters. They moved with predatory grace, their hulls seeming to shift and adapt in real time. Behind them came larger vessels, destroyers, and cruisers of designs that belonged to no known species. "I spent 3 years in the void markets," Lydia continued conversationally as if discussing the weather rather than an invasion fleet. "Do you know what they trade there, Commander? Secrets. Technologies that make your hegemony look like children playing with sticks. I traded my tears for weapons, my blood for ships, my very soul for the power to return home." Zex-9's tactical display lit up like a festival as the sensors struggled to catalog the approaching fleet. Hundreds of vessels, each one radiating energy signatures that belonged in nightmares rather than space. At the center of it all, Lydia's throne ship continued its inexorable advance toward the dead world below. "But the real prize," she said, standing and placing one pale hand on the throne's armrest, "was this. The umbral throne of the Forgotten Dynasty. They say it was built by the first species to achieve galactic dominance, then lost when they ascended beyond physical form. It has one very special property, Commander." The throne began to pulse with dark light, and Zex-9 felt something impossible happening to the space around Lydia's ship. Reality seemed to bend, twist, and suddenly he could see through her eyes, feel the cold touch of the throne's power. "It makes the impossible possible," she whispered. And Zex-9 realized with mounting horror that she was no longer speaking through the transmission. She was speaking directly into his mind, into the minds of every living being in the hegemony fleet. 15 years ago, you thought you had broken humanity's back, scattered us to the winds, made us refugees and slaves in our own galaxy. But you made one crucial mistake." Her mental voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "You left one of us alive, one child with royal blood, cast into the dark where things older and more terrible than your hegemony dwell." The space around Kepler 442b began to ripple like water. Ships that had been dead in space for 15 years suddenly blazed to life, their hulls regenerating as if time itself was rewinding. The planet's surface, scarred and lifeless just moments before, began to bloom with impossible green as atmosphere flooded back into existence. I learned that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our numbers, Lydia continued, now physically present somehow despite being on her ship thousands of kilometers away. It was our absolute stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Our willingness to trade everything, our sanity, our souls, our very reality, for one more chance to protect what we love. Zex-9 tried to reach for his weapons, but his hands wouldn't obey. None of the hegemony forces could move, held in place by power that transcended physics. So I made a deal with entities that exist between the stars. I sold my mortality for immortality, my humanity for the power to restore it. And now, Commander, I have returned not as a broken princess, but as something your species has no word for. The throne ship settled into orbit around the reborn world, and Lydia finally materialized fully on the bridge of Zex-9 station. The umbral throne came with her, its dark radiance making the metal walls weep tears of condensed possibility. I am the queen of the impossible, she said, settling onto her throne with the grace of absolute power. And you, Commander Zex-9, have the honor of delivering a message to your hegemony. Her smile could have frozen suns. Tell them that humanity has learned to play by rules older than their civilization. Tell them that the age of easy conquest is over. She gestured, and through the viewports they could see her fleet spreading out through the system like a dark constellation. Tell them that the dead have risen, and we remember every single slight. As the transmission ended and reality reasserted itself around the monitoring station, Commander Zex-9 found himself alone with one terrible certainty. The galaxy would never be the same again. Somewhere in the black between stars, humanity had found something worse than war. They had found hope.